The Republican Party has released its long-awaited COVID-19 stimulus proposal, and it's bad. And I don't mean just bad, but dumpster fire bad. Like this is a dumpster that is on fire that they have wheeled out into the halls of Congress to say, look at our wonderful bill. So let me give you the details. Let's get into it. So the Senate Republican plan would extend unemployment benefits, kind of. So now it would extend them, yes, but then cut the benefit from $200 a week to from $600 a week to $200 a week. Not only that, but it would also only do that until states can implement their own new system that would pay laid off workers 70% of what they earned prior to losing their jobs. So that is, of course, a massive cut. The proposal would also provide another round of $1,200 stimulus payments, just one. And then that's for, of course, the people who got it last time. And then, of course, it would also provide funding for minimum opening requirements and $16 billion for coronavirus testing. Other stuff would be nothing for federal aid for nutrition, right? Zero funding for states, and leave the U.S. Postal Service without any emergency relief. So we have the post office that's going under right now. They're facing massive financial hardship, and Republicans say, let it burn. Just let it burn. There's more. The main part of this provision, of this bill, contains a provision that has to do with liability. Now, that liability provision would ensure that corporations were not held accountable if they put their employees in danger by providing a sweeping 5-year liability shield geared towards protecting businesses from coronavirus-related lawsuits. Now, this, of course, is a top priority for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, who could, if this passes, of course, allow the members, these corporations, to not provide adequate protection for people going back to work, who will then be forced back to work. And so understand this is the final piece of the Republican plan to force the people to reopen, to states to reopen. So for one, you make people desperate to go back to work by cutting their unemployment so little, right? So where they get so little, they can't afford not to go back to work, right? Now, the other part of that, of course, is not giving money to the states. You don't give money to the states, then they're going to be forced budget-wise, to relax the restrictions on businesses so that the businesses can start paying their taxes again, right? As well as people paying their taxes from their paychecks that are forced to go back to work, right? So now that goes along with blanket protection for liability, which means these companies can then cut their costs by not spending as much on PPE to protect their employees. And because, of course, now that you have a massive recession, you have a lot of businesses that are not coming back, you have a gigantic labor pool. So this labor pool, right, will then be available for these companies. So, hey, if you get sick, you die on the job or die off the job after getting sick or whatever, well, that's okay. We can just hire somebody else and not protect them or the customers or anything like that. And so they can do this without worrying about being sued by, people who get infected. There are workers that get infected in the restaurants. And so that's what they want to do, right? It's an insidiously evil plan that's going to cause thousands, tens of thousands to die from coronavirus unnecessarily, right? And of course, give people no legal recourse if they're exposed and get lifelong damage from this virus. Remember, people have reported after recovering from coronavirus, heart damage, lung damage, kidney damage. And so these will lead to conditions that will impact people's lives for the rest of their life. And so these are conditions that will require expensive medical interventions, possibly expensive drugs. And these companies, they're like, well, sorry, yes, we didn't protect you while you were at work. And well, we're not really sorry about, I mean, sorry, but we're not really sorry about that because we don't really care. We're going to fire you anyway, or, let you do whatever you're going to do. Right. And not cover your medical bills. Ha ha ha. Sad day for you. That's the plan. And of course, since it is the top priority of the Chamber of Commerce, it's the top priority for Mitch McConnell. And so there's that. Now, alongside, you're not going to be surprised, alongside these terrible provisions, there's a ton of pork barrel spending. For example, $686 million is being directed towards F-35 fighter jets. What? We give money to the jets. This is a coronavirus bill. It's supposed to be a stimulus bill. And we're just like, no, let's buy some F-35s. That's cool. Not only that, but $1.75 billion for construction of a new FBI headquarters. Now, this is something that Mitch McConnell is like, oh, when he was asked by a reporter about this, right, during a press conference, like, hey, why does this coronavirus bill have a new FBI headquarters in it? Mitch McConnell is like, what? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it is in there. Is it? Is there funding in there? I don't know. Your office drafted it, and you don't know what's in it. Oh, of course he doesn't know what's in it. You know why? Because these congressmen don't do their own work. They get their staffers to write everything. They get their staffers to do whatever. And so they don't actually do any work. No, because they spend 12 hours on the phone every day begging donors for cash. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, a little hyperbole on that one, but somewhere around at least 4 to 5 hours a day, maybe 6, calling donors for cash, dialing for dollars. So now, in case you didn't notice and you thought that maybe, all right, well, okay, we found basically the worst of it, all that they stuck in there. No. Senator Mitt Romney, Mittens Romneyton III, decided to sneak in a provision that would cut Social Security and Medicare. Of course. This entire piece of legislation is a slap in the face. There's no rent freeze. There's only one round of stimulus, right? $1,200 checks to basically the same people who got it, which was too narrow to begin with, and a push to get people back into school at a time where the virus is peaking. I mean, and I'm assuming a lot, by the way, by saying it's the peak, because we don't really know. It could get worse tomorrow or not. We'll never know because the Trump administration has made rules where they basically can hide the data from the CDC. They don't have to give the data to the CDC, and they can now give it to a political partisan organization under Trump's control. Yeah, they're hiding the numbers. They're going to hide the numbers. And so, look, Republicans, they're death cult. I keep saying it. It's true. They don't care about the workers. They don't care about the children, right, that they're sending back to school, who are carriers of the virus, vectors. And not only that, but a 9-year-old died the other day from coronavirus, COVID-19. I know. There are people that are watching like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah, she probably got hit by a car and they just wrote it down as COVID-19 because that's what they do. No, they don't. There's no evidence of that. They're not cooking the numbers. In fact, in reality, the numbers are being undercounted now. And so it's just, and that whole conspiracy theory is basically just a way to justify this, to justify sending people, children who will get the virus, bring it back to their parents or grandparents, and kill so many more people. That's what's going to happen. And by the way, they don't care about that. They all they care about is protecting corporations. And so this is their vehicle for corporate immunity. And that's it. I think we need to return this trash bill back to the sender. Probably light it on fire first. That's what I'd do. And send it back. Because this is garbage. Total garbage. Trash. And by the way, the timing is not a coincidence either. The last unemployment checks just went out. last week. There's no more. There's no more unemployment, right? And you also have a massive housing crisis. 12 million people are about to get evicted. They're facing eviction in this country by September, right? And Republicans are doing what Republicans do best. They're literally taking those lives and they're holding them across. They're holding them over the cliff and saying, "You better give us that corporate immunity that we want, or else they're going over the cliff." That's it. And worst of all, by the way, that liability, in case you think it's just Republicans, right? The liability provision was lifted directly from the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo's own legislation. Republicans looked at that and they said, "Ooh, let's take it. Let's use it. Thank you, Governor Cuomo." So no, Republicans also not on your side. And Democrats. I was about to say Democrats, but I think that's an interesting Freudian slip that I just called Democrats Republicans. Nah. So that said, if you're voting for these people who are not at all interested in you, just know that you're voting against yourself, your friends, your family, your neighbors, your children, and you're voting against all of those people, but voting for greed and, ironically, more coronavirus.